Sony just shut down two very cool studios that were working on PlayStation exclusive games, and everybody's a bit confused by it, myself included. Right now, it seems like PlayStation is very much on top. Their games are winning awards. Their games are selling record-breaking numbers. The PlayStation 5 itself, you can't even keep them on store shelves. And yet, for some reason, Sony is firing game devs? Let's discuss. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, I want to talk about both of these studios, what makes them so different, and why I believe that it seems like Sony decided to swoop in and just tell everybody to get the hell out. Now, the two studios are Pixel Opus and this other company called Deviation. Now, these are working on very, very different top secret projects, but we actually have some hints as to what they were up to and why they may have gotten the axe. Now, what's interesting is that Pixel Opus, when this news came out, everybody was in shock. Literally, look at all the replies. Sad to hear. What the heck? I hope you guys land on your feet. I supported your previous game, Concrete Genie, day one. Thank you for everything, and I hope it works out. Hate to see it. This is sad. Hold up what's happening. This is the major sentiment I keep seeing. Sony can afford to keep you open. It's absolutely shameful. You could have made something totally amazing. Now, their previous game, Concrete Genie, did actually get quite a bit of accolades. It was this very unique indie-style game where you played as this kid who could pretty much bring any paint to life. So it's kind of a quirky puzzle game, but it was undeniably adorable, and it definitely didn't fit the typical Sony vibe. A lot of stuff now, people have started to say that a lot of PlayStation exclusives are really narrative-heavy, hyper-realistic adventure games. You know, they're very dead set on making a big, epic masterpiece that's going to blow your mind for 25 hours. Now, to me, I think that's a benefit. I think a lot of PlayStation games are jaw-droppingly impressive, but I do think there is something to be said for a wider range of cool exclusives. You know, even stuff like Kena Bridge of Spirits. I like that game, but I will admit that part of the appeal of it is that it is a very different style of PlayStation exclusive, which is cool. Well, even their own developers are basically saying, well, you know what? We tried to make the world a better place by making our cute little game. It sucks, but I'm thankful for the time I had. This is weird to me because I do think this is probably connected to this other studio closure as well. So here's what happened. Currently, this company, Deviation Games, is not technically owned by PlayStation. They are only working on a PlayStation game, though. Sony is paying all of their bills to work on a very big, top secret, original IP. Now, from some of their hiring and from some of the people and their previous specialities, Deviation Games was very clearly working on some sort of big games as a service project. The entirety of this company was only about 130 employees, and they just fired 90 of them shortly after meeting with Sony. Now, PlayStation was entirely paying their bills, so if Sony said that they were not going to pay them anymore, or they were canceling this top secret IP, that's probably why everything is completely closing up shop. I mean, if the one project lead you have, the one boss that's paying your bills, suddenly stops paying you, well, you got to find another place to work. And a lot of people are just saying, man, this sucks. This is confusing. Why did these games, these mysterious projects that seem to have so much potential, by Sony's own phrasing, what happened to make them get canceled? What happened to make these games seemingly not get released? I do think that there is a chance that Sony is terrified of a 7 out of 10 game. Lately, Sony has been completely on fire from a Metacritic perspective. A lot of their games are getting a massive wave of critical acclaim. There have actually been some talks that when it came to Days Gone, that was a huge financial success, but because it didn't get the top scoring reviews, PlayStation actually punished the developers and didn't let them make a Days Gone 2. They moved them onto other stuff. They just said, okay, if you can't get 8.5s and 9s out of 10, you don't get to make a sequel. I do kind of wonder if something was happening with Sony showed up and said, hey, we want to take a look at what you're working on, and maybe Pixel Opus and Deviation, maybe the games they were working on were good, but not great. Maybe they just didn't quite hit that quota. I mean, Xbox has done this as well in the past. Games like Scalebound. I mean, that game to the trailers looked good, but apparently Microsoft kept looking at it and said, this is just not up to snuff. Cancel it because we're not going to pay for it. I wonder if these companies were working on games that just straight up didn't have the quality, didn't have the frame rate, didn't have the polish, or if they were just years and years away. These are supposed to be companies that were working on tinier projects to kind of just fill out that PlayStation catalog. Maybe they said, hey, our game that was supposed to take 2 years of development is going to take 5 years of development. And Sony just straight up said, no thanks. Now, there is one last very strange theory I've seen people kicking around, which is the fact that maybe this is actually a greater effort by Sony to actually make a new acquisition. So they've just fired a lot of freaking people. Deviation, though, could actually be set for a buyout. This has happened in certain times in the past, but it is a bit weird. Sometimes what happens is that Sony will actually approach people, or not just Sony, but a lot of times executives will approach a company that they want to buy, and they'll say, okay, well, currently you're worth like X many hundreds of millions of dollars. Downsize so we can buy you for cheaper, and then we'll put in our own PlayStation devs to fill up the ranks of people who have been lost. What if that's what's happening? Is that maybe this games as a service project is getting, it's nearing completion. They fired everybody that's not currently needed, and then they're going to put in different placeholder people to carry it across the finish line. This is a thing I've seen people kicking around a lot, but personally, I do not believe it. I do believe theory A, that as hardworking as these people are, as dedicated as they are, I do truly believe that what they were doing was just not quite good enough. That somebody, the taste makers at PlayStation, looked at it and gave them a giant red light. And I'll be honest, I'm actually kind of sad about that, because I do think Concrete Genie was a very unique, very fun game, and I wanted to see what they did next. Even if it wasn't the best game ever, I'm kind of curious to see those different weird, quirky ideas. The stuff that isn't just mainstream AAA, open world, third-person shooter coolness. Show me that weird game that kind of confuses me. Challenge the barriers. Challenge the stereotype of a PlayStation Studio game. But I guess now it doesn't exist. It's not even that we won't see it. It's that straight up they unmade it. They Thanos snapped them straight off the timeline. But what do you guys think about this? Are you confused? Because we're never going to know. This is just a gigantic secret to everybody. But thank you for watching this video. If you could please give this a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. Check it out. I'm very happy about this. I managed to secure the Tears of the Kingdom Pro controller. Thanks everybody for watching my Tears of the Kingdom review, by the way. That video blew up actually way more than I thought it was going to. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.